Actually, Redmond's harder than Ben.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So, I'm assuming the way they get these numbers is historical. They go back in time and they measure when the first frost, or when the last frost was, and when the first frost was in any given number of years, and then just average those results to get this. Ben, your average last frost was July 28th. Oh no, this probably isn't the average. This is probably the extreme.
Yes.
This has got to be the extreme.
I was like, that's a
No,
really short
holy
term.
crap! They say average. That's got to be wrong. We plant beginning of June every year, and then now we also cheat. We put all kinds of milk jugs full of black water
There you go.
next to the plants. We cover them with glass aquariums. We do all kinds of crap to cheat the system. Because you can, I don't think that's average, I think that's extreme. But look at this growing season. If this is true,
Right.
is that a week? Is it a freaking week?
It's wrong. June 27th is our average.
June 27th is our average?
Yeah, first the last.
Oh, you've seen other, yeah, this seems extreme. I think Burpee has a different set. And Burpee gives us at least a month of growing.
Yes.
Now you can extend that, of course, by cheating and putting things like hot water out, and building greenhouses, building cold frames. One of my favorite things to do is to go to, when they have those great sales on Tupperware, make DIY earth boxes on wheels. Make big Tupperware earth boxes, grow tomatoes in, wheel them in your garage, if your garage is insulated. In March or April, get those things growing inside, wheel them out in the sun, back, you can't forget, you forget one time that they'll get sap.
We're done.
But wheel them out in the sun, wheel them in at night, wheel them out in the sun, in at night. Eventually you leave them out at night as long as the deer don't eat your plants. You can cheat this. But as far as it goes, I mean, look, now it's kind of not fair to compare it to Corvallis. Obviously, totally different zone, totally different ecosystem, way more consistent temperatures. But if you look across Oregon, it's one of the most extreme. I mean, if you scroll down, Gold Beach, 4/12 through 11/6. When can't you grow there? Christmas Day? You know, I mean, so the idea is, if you can control for that too, Carly, I love what you're saying. But if you also measure for all that, mathematically you can still argue and can't get to zero. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're 100% correct, in that it doesn't matter if you can't get to zero. You can get as close as you need to get to zero. I love that point. I love that point. It's a limiting factor. It's a Ziegler limit. We're going to trademark it. Yeah.
Now, does what you're growing have a factor in that too?
Oh, hell yeah. Some things
So,
are way more, a highly water-based plant is way more susceptible to frost than something like asparagus. Our asparagus does awesome every year.
Well, look, but look about
Broccoli does awesome every year. Kale, phenomenal.
like, but zucchini, right?
I've learned to
you
plant
can't-
one zucchini
Yeah, you
plant.
can't stop it. It's
Right,
It goes
I've learned to
crazy.
plant one. Stop planting more than one.
Right.
Because your neighbors don't want them after a while. the chickens love it. If you have chickens, chickens love zucchini. If you ever grow too much zucchini, throw zucchini in there. It's like watching piranhas. Gone in like 30 seconds. Crazy. Skeletonizes zucchini in 30 seconds.
Can you scroll down on that for
Sure. What are you looking for? What time? Madras 7'4", 818. Not much better than Ben, but better than Ben, according to. And Redmond, you said he was hard in Redmond too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. That's at the airport. So don't agree with me, that's at the airport, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of the Ziegler limit, I want to tie back in. Oh, go ahead, Carly. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I just was thinking that, when we were talking earlier,
Yeah.
you said that it's possible to get close enough to zero, and then if the event ever happened where no seeds germinated, that would be considered an outlier.
Oh, it essentially would be after you plant enough, yeah.
Right. So then you can kind of apply the same thought process to the environmental factors to say that, to find where that limit is according to the certain factors, and then if those factors change for
You
some
adjust.
reason,
You adjust the model.
then it would just be an outlier.
Exactly correct. Or if they change enough extremely, the outlier becomes the norm, and you go, I have to reconsider what I'm thinking about as normal. No, I love what you're saying. I've been told by Ron Baldwin on the forestry department, it is frozen in every calendar day of the year in Bend except August 15th. That is the only day it hasn't frozen. Now this contradicts that a little bit, because I think it's at 8.4 was the
over what
average
period of
first
time?
frost.
Over what
I don't know. He just quoted that to me, unsourced, so I have no idea what his source is. But the point is
It's
that
believable.
Bend has those freakish. You might get 2 feet of snow on July 4th.
Yes.
I mean, how many of you ski bachelor on July 4th? I mean, usually they don't open lifts anymore, but I mean, it's one of my favorite backcountry outings. Is as soon as they close the lifts, go up there with my skins and do laps on the summit. It's freaking awesome. It's usually bluebird and perfect corn. But then sometimes it'll snow in June. You know, so it's just yeah.
2 years ago, they did have the lifts open.
They did 2 years ago, and apparently that was a pretty normal event years and years ago, and then they stopped doing it, and then they opened a couple years ago because there was so much snow. Last year wasn't so much as 2 years ago. But there is definitely that kind of fluctuation, that random fluctuation, which ties beautifully into the goofiness that we saw over here on those dice. When I asked about that 50, or even that 43, were you upset about it? And I heard one person say, yes, we shouldn't have that many 2s. And then somebody else, Joe, said, yeah, it's fine. Over time, it'll smooth out. So what I want to show you guys is I want to give you an idea. I want to give you an idea of the evolution of a die roll. So this is what Nick was talking about watching evolution. This is Excel. Excel is going to simulate. You can't see that very well. Hang on, let me. I keep forgetting the screen isn't there. Let me scroll it down a little bit. Just do an insert here. Pull it down. Is that centered pretty well? That's good enough, I think. So what Excel is going to do right now is the same thing you guys just did. It's going to roll dice. Now, you guys actually did a better job because you guys actually physically rolled a die, which is a perfect random number generator. Perfect. Excel is not perfect, as we've talked about the technology. It's not a perfect random, but it's random enough for our points. Here's the die that it's rolling. It's called the rand between command. In your next project, you'll see it all over the place. In all the spreadsheets I give, you'll see tons of rand betweens. 1 to 52, 1 to 4, all kinds of stuff. What it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and roll. Every time I press F9, it's going to roll again. Right now it rolled a 3. There, it just rolled a 6. The pie chart's going to keep track of what happens. So far, we've got 1 6 and 1 3. 3, 6. So 3 is green, 6 is orange. Okay? I'm going to hit it 4 more times. There's 4 more times. So now I've rolled it 6 times. 6 times, I've gotten 2 1s, 2 3s, looks like a 6 and a 4. Yeah, that's what it says over there on the chart. What is the chance of rolling a 3? What is the chance of rolling a 4? What are the probabilities of these results? They're 1 in 6. But I just rolled it 6 times. I didn't get 1 of each.
But each one has an equal likely chance of being.
Ooh! Each one has an equally likely chance of happening. I like that. But if that's true, shouldn't I have seen 1 of each?
But no, it goes back to Joe. Over time.
Over time. Hang on. What if I just hold the F9 button down and let it do its thing?
Here we go.
And isn't it all independent?
Oh, these are definitely independent. Who just said that? Jolene, thank you. These are definitely independent. That die is memoryless. I can make this work. Sometimes the staple, I had to get a new stapler. It's not as heavy as my old one. I'll just hold it. What's happening?
It's evening out.
I was too busy looking down. I didn't see when the first 2 popped up, but apparently it did. I'm going to let go real quick. See these numbers over here?
It's more even.
Notice how they're not perfect, are they? Look at that. I got 132, 133, 148, 131, 138. What do we have now? Hang on a second, Linda. Hold that thought. 138 to 125, that's off by a bunch, right? That's off by like 13. Which, if you think about it, is essentially as far as we're off over here, yeah?
Yes. What's that P to the X?
Hold that thought. Give me 30 seconds for that.
Okay.
See if you can figure it out while I'm talking, though.
But 13 data points out of 800 is insignificant compared to 13 data points out of 242.
Did you hear that? These are off. As Linda said, we've got an outlierish kind of thing. We've got this 148, which is very large, and the smallest one looks like that 125, right?
Yeah.
So you're separate by about 20 or so data points, which, if you think about it, is about as far as the maximum range over here.
But look at the percentage.
But the percentage of offness is basically meaningless anymore because I've rolled 800 times. You guys only rolled a couple hundred. So yeah, it's the same absolute difference, but it's 4 times less huge because of the larger data. And watch what happens when we keep going. Now, Pat, you said something very interesting. What's happening on this pie chart as time's going by?
It's evening out, but the percentage of it coming up, you're looking at it, it's like you're talking about 2% of the time over an extreme number, like, you know, you're up to over 1,300 rolls now. So you're right on there.
Yeah, I wish I could. I want to do this. I want to hold the damn thing down. In the bottle. My old stapler was near. It's like big steel swing line, and I want to go and take some notes on the board. Maybe the phone. What do you got, Nick?
Why don't I just hold it down?
Well, because I want you to pay attention. I want to answer your question, man. Let's try this phone. You asked a great question earlier. Nick's question was, what is that P of X?
Probability.
Boom! Genius. Thank you. So, we're going to let that keep going. We're going to come back to it. So right now, let's do its thing. Who knows how to program in Visual Basic? Okay, I'm not the only one that does it. If I could program in Visual Basic, I could just say go 10,000 times and then come back to it, but I haven't gotten there yet, so you have 9 button down. What you're witnessing, evolution, obviously. But what you basically, let's add, if you will, I'm going to add a column to our distribution over here. These frequencies